Hello and welcome to this webinar on MassMotion, setting up scenarios using schedules and timetables. You'll be guided through this by myself today, Peter Debbie, Application Specialist for MassMotion. Let's get down to business. I'll cover schedules first. Schedules are the easy part. So schedules specify where agents come to the model, where they go from, and possibly what they do en route. Now, there are various bits to help out. Let's the best thing to do if I was to show you how it actually works with this sample model that I've got here. I know it's a very simple model, but it's a train station. Let's call it a train station where we've got street, and we've got a platform, and we've got train A and train B. Very simple, not realistic, but never mind. What we're going to do this, we're going to set up people coming into the train station and using the trains, people exiting the trains and going off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up 4 schedules first of all. First one I'm going to call train A. And the population is going to be, well, we can manipulate this curve here, but I find it easier to add a curve segment. I'm going to say I'm going to have 100 people coming in over 5 minutes. Now, when is this 5 minutes going to be? I'm going to say, well, let's have 2 trains, one at 17:05 and one at 17:07. So I'm going to start this one at 1700, so 5 minutes before the train arrives. And the portals, they're going to come in, these entrance portals and street portals, and they're going to come in mauve, and then they're going to exit out through those portals there, and they're going to distribute it equally between them, but we can't go in and say, well, we can have a few more on portal A and a few less on portal C3 and so on. I could then copy this, and that should be I forgot to mention departures in there. Let me just rename that one. So train B departures won't be going to portal A, they'll be going to portal B. And they'll also be starting from the street and Ochre, fair enough. And they're getting 100 people coming in, but they won't come in at 1700, they come at 1702 to meet the 1707 train. I will also create 2 more schedules. Train A arrivals. And these again, these can be at absolute start of 1705, and I'm going to add a curve segment 100 in. Wait a minute. Set that down to 5 seconds. Reset this. 100 people in. Ooh. The minimum time possible, and replace the curve. So we now have people creating in 5 seconds at 1705. And they fix it, given speed. Where's the other ones? Let's go back to those. I want them randomized within the minute, so it gives it slightly more realistic influx, but the minute by minute numbers is still the same. Now, I may be going reasonably quickly, but this is all being recorded and the video will be online hopefully tomorrow, where it will show things in a bit slower possibly. So let me copy this one. I don't need to copy the entrances. arrivals. Population is going to arrive at 1707. That's going to be the same. And the portals, they're going to exit there. They're going to enter. Don't remove this time. Make them red. Let's just check. Station A. Aqua, not Keynote Aqua. Doesn't show up very well. Blue. Going to the streets. So we should have entrance and exits for the agents and various times set. So let us validate and export that and see if I've remembered everything. Launch MassMotion. I'll run it in the background because GoToMeeting really slows down debug mode. Let's look at that and see. And everybody's going straight to the trains. That's not quite what we want. Do they arrive? So we do it again coming out as well. Okay. Right, let's adjust this. So what we want to do is not allow people onto the trains in advance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all those gates, all those links, and the properties of those, I am going to say that they will be gated, and the agents will focus on the targets, so they'll queue up at the train doors. And I'll also enable priority flow from alpha to omega. Yes, so priority of the agents coming off the trains. And I'll disable orderly queuing because that helps with the agents coming through as well. And let's face it, on train stations people tend not to do orderly queuing for train doors. I also need to open those links using events. So I'll do an open gate action, which train A, and this will be at 17:05 for 3 minutes, and the gate it applies to the A ones. And similarly, I'll do a new train B. It's going to be similar. This will be 17:07 again for 3 minutes, and this time it will be on the B gate. Validate and export that. Reload the model, rerun. And everybody's at the model, that's good. So, agents are coming in, queuing up at the doors. And they tend to be queuing up at the nearest doors. Actually, let's quickly change that. Go back to these links. Give them a wayfinding queuing time factor 10. Re-export. Give them a larger queuing factor so they'll distribute themselves between the doors better. Basically, they'll see the queues have been much longer, and you can see people are now distributing themselves down the platforms better, which is what we want to see. Then if I scrub it on a bit, 17:05, you can see the agents coming off the trains, and then the other are coming on. And then in a moment, we'll see the next train arriving. The red will. Oh, there's a little bit of argument on the gate there. Excellent. So that's all working. So that's the schedules. So schedules are a good way of putting together simple scenarios with the model. Now that was creating them directly within MassMotion. One thing we can do is create these, maybe using the auto generate to create some default schedules. If I export these out into the into my model folder here, let's say this is going to be the population, this is going to be entrances, exits, and agents. I export all schedules. We should then have 4 CSV files here. So let's have a look at these. So the agents file here in Excel gives each rule their profile with the color by entrance or exit, what their agents are, and where they're entering from. Well, this is the actual entrance breakdown. See, these ones by default are all the same, so train arrivals will be arriving equally between those 3 portals, and where they're going to are these locations. Let me see the train departure. We've got slightly more for A1 and A2 and A3 when we set these, and of course we can adjust these in here, and we say 50%, 35%, and 15%, and of course these do all have, the whole row has to sum up to 1, or at least near enough, or 100 I should say. And the population is when they come in this population curve, and again adjust these, and you see that these 2 rules coming in the first 5 seconds, these ones totaling up to 100, and then the last column is always 0. And then we can then, I will save that one, don't save, but then import back in. That we only want which one was it? The exits. There we go. We can see that the we've got the distribution imported from those spreadsheets back into here, which we can then analyze. So that's schedules. So let's have a look at timetables. Now timetables so timetables are more involved. They're much more powerful, and they were introduced in version 6, and they enable you to do a lot more, but they are more complicated. I mean, they are powerful enough to do a mainline train station or an airport, and again, you can work with CSV files. In fact, you have to work with CSV files. Everything is created externally to MassMotion and then imported in. Hopefully in the future versions we'll have something which is a bit more user friendly, but in the meantime, it's all been about flexibility and power rather than ease of use at the moment. Now, with schedules, we have 4 spreadsheets. Now we have 8 spreadsheets referring to reference events. These are train arrival, airport, plane arrival, and so on, or maybe a fire. Agent schedules, as before, numbers of agents. Curves, this is arrival profile. If there's no curve set, they'll just all arrive in the short in 1 second. Arrival curves will give the time distribution for the agents. Locations are groups of portals. You don't need to group the portals, but they can make it easier. Let me switch on the laser pointer here. Gates is groups of gated links. Again, you don't need to group them together, but it can make things easier. Gate events, when do the gates open and close? Evacuation events, when the agents told to evacuate a zone. And action events, when actions are triggered on the whole model. Now you might think that evacuation events are only used for fire models, but I'm going to use it on the transportation model. Now in this PowerPoint we do list all the various options. I won't go through these in detail because I'll put the PowerPoint on the web page you can download. But basically, whenever you see it here, things which are optional you don't have to include, but some you do. Like reference events, you need a name, you need a start time, and you need a location, which is a group of portals. And others are variable, which means you can have one or more. So you can give several tokens, for example, to the agents. So let's rather than let's look at putting them together properly. It might make a bit more sense. So what I'm going to do is I am going to delete those schedules, and I'm going to delete those open gate events. I'm going to drive everything from the timetables. So there's going to be nothing in the events and nothing in the agent schedules at all. First of all, what I will do is set up a few additional things here. So I'm going to set up some tokens first of all. Now these tokens are going to represent train tickets, and I'm going to use these tokens. Well, first of all, I'm going to give these tokens to the departing passengers and then test to see whether they own them or not before telling them to get on the train. So if they hold the train a ticket, I'm going to tell them to get on to train A. I'm going to set up a zone, and this zone will be platform zone, and this will be the platform. And so I test, I'm going to evacuate the agents from the platform into the trains when the trains arrive. I'm also going to set up some actions to give a better waiting behavior, because at the moment the agents are just queuing up at the doors, which is not entirely realistic because people tend to hang around on the platforms in the vague areas of the doors rather than the actual doors. So I'm going to set up some actions here. And the first action is going to be a choose action from set. I'm going to tell them to wait at one of these 3 portals we call a waiting area. That's 3 of these, and each of these is going to be seek portal. And so the first one is going to be wait 1, second one wait 2, and the third one wait 3. And people tend not to distribute equally on the platform. They tend to get the short distance as a general rule. So I'm going to set this first one to say 40%, next one to 35%, last one to 25%. Now these numbers don't have to add up to 100, but you can normalize them just to make sure. And so we will get nearly twice as many people waiting at this end platform than this end, which is more likely. I then get them to wait at those locations. So I'm going to do a new action, which is a list of actions. Wait on platform. And so I'm going to say execute this user action, which is choose waiting area. Then wait for duration, which is going to be 10 seconds, and spread out, so a little bit shuffling. But then wait for duration a long time, but stand still. And then the evacuation event, as I specified, will then override this command and tell them to go onto the train. If we look at that graph, maybe it's a bit easier to see what's going on. Right, well, that's the basic bit set up. Let's set up the timetable itself. Now, I mentioned we can't edit. We can't edit these directly in here. What we need to do is export them into the model directory, and then edit them here. Now you see we've got 8 files. We don't actually need to edit 7 of these, but let's work our way through them individually. So first one I'm going to look at is the curve file. So this gives the arrival curve, and so I'm going to call this departures. Interval is going to be 1 minute, and the values 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, 0.1. And these need to add up to 1. And what we've got here is the arrival curve of these agents over time. So I'm going to say they're going to start 5 minutes before. There's a little bit of overlap with the train arrival, but they're going to be peaking at 2 minutes before. Okay, next one. Location. So this is the list of portals. I'm going to set up 3 lists here. Street portals, and that's going to be that one and that one. Train A portals. That one, that one, that one. And then train B portals. That one, that one, that one. So basically, so when I give locations and so on, I don't need to specify all 3 portals. I can just specify this one list name. What's next? Reference event. So the reference event is the train arrivals themselves. So I'm going to have a train A and a train B. Start time 17:05, 17:07. Duration 3 minutes. The locations are going to be these groups of portals, but I'm not going to give initial action or initial token. I'll use those elsewhere. Schedules, numbers of agents. So again, we'll need 4 of these, same as we did before. And I'm going to go from street portals, so the departing passengers, to the reference event train A, train B. Population is going to be 100 again. Oops. Now the time offset, we want agents to start arriving 5 minutes before the reference event, and unfortunately Excel won't accept a negative time. So what you can do is just put a quote mark at the beginning there. And Excel is then happy to accept that, and then that time is fine when it's imported into MassMotion. The curve, copy that. So departure curve, avatars. Set my avatars here. If you don't specify an avatar, then you won't actually see anything in the model, so it's not very useful. Profile will be default. Just accept that. Initial action, I will take initial action, which was wait on platform. And we give the tokens now wait a minute, where's the rename thing gone to? It's not showing. There it is. Let's minimize that a minute. Give tokens. And so that's the schedules going in. I'll do this in reverse. So the exiting, or the arrivals, I should say. Again, hundreds. The time offset, nothing. They're going to arrive on time. Curve, they're going to arrive within a second. The portals, the avatars, let's say green and dark green. Default profile, no action, no tokens. So they're just going to enter instantly and go for the exits. No waiting around. I need to open the gates. So I need to group some gates. So I'm going to say train A doors. And train B doors. I need to specify when those doors open. So gate events. So the events, the reference events, those two. They match up. Time offset none. Duration picks up from there. Applied reference event. This means that they'll only open for agents created using those reference events, which I'm going to say no. It might work. Likewise, you can only open to certain tokens. But the gates, I'll say these are the gates that are being opened by that gate event. And then finally, we'll set up a evacuation event which will tell the agents to get off the platform into the trains. So again, we'll specify the event names, no offset, no duration, picks up from those. Now key tokens. Where's my schedules? I'll grab those tokens. So agents carrying these tokens in the platform zone with no pre-movements are going to locations train A portals, train B portals. So this will trigger at 17:05, and agents with the train ticket in the platform zone will be told to go for the train. Now that seems quite involved, but it does have the advantage that if you make a change, let's say train time, you just change it there. Everything else is interrelated to everything else. So it is flexible, it is powerful, but it is sensitive to upper and lower case and spelling and all those sorts of good things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close all those now and make sure they're saved. And import them from the folder. See where they're there. And then go to simulation, validate and export. Hopefully I've not made any mistakes. Reload the model. So we can see the gates are shut. Let me run that in the background. And we should end up agents coming in and then agents going out. Good. Let's look as it works. Have I done it right? So the train A agents arriving, and you see they are distributing themselves along the platforms, and we should get seem to get more at the end of the middle, but that could just be randomization. And you see they move around for a bit and then stop. Obviously it's a matter of moving up, and you can see trains arrived and greens are making their way off, and a few latecomers get onto the trains, and then in a moment the other train arrives. And there we have it. So that is putting a timetable together for a train station. Admittedly, in this case, a reasonably simple train, but now there was quite a lot in there, I know. And the thing to do, I think, is if you set up your own timetables, to go away and have a go at this yourself. There are some examples in the help file. You'll also find there is a timetable example supplied in the sample files, which are there in the installation directory. I'll also put this model and my notes online. Well, I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have fun.